Hi, welcome to Channel Squared, where we connect with you, the divine, and channel here with you live. I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate.
And I'm Jodielynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness. And today we're going to rock the boat a little bit. We're going to talk about the God versus the devil. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, should we back up and, tell the audience how we ended up here?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
So, I get my news from TikTok. Love it, hate it. It doesn't matter. I take everything in life, all sources with a grain of salt and use discernment. So this is a great practice for me watching different media sources and practicing discernment, which all of our viewers should also be doing. Everyone in the world should be doing. So I've noticed this uptick on TikTok of people talking about things that are demonic or things that are from the devil or from polarity. And something that has come up is people saying tarot cards, crystals, Ouija board, the things of that nature. And now it's been expanded also to automatic writing and channeling. These certain individuals are saying that it is demonic and bad. And so that kind of caught my attention, like, interesting. I feel like I need to discern the truth. And well, I just thought my best friend Heather could help.
So it's funny because when we first started talking about this topic, I mean, we kind of went on a rant, the two of us, and I thought, man, why didn't we hit the record button so we could share it with everybody?
So,
But I'm glad that we're having this conversation today because I think there are certain tools in a spiritual toolbox that can be influenced by lower vibrational beings. So some of these tools are like pendulums, Ouija boards, things that are like easier to manipulate using energy as opposed to, I mean, even channeling to some degree, you can channel lower vibrational beings. So while I want to say like that's preposterous, I really can't say that that's preposterous because it's not preposterous. Preposterous? Am I saying that right? I don't
yeah.
know. Um, because the fact is that the entire gambit of spiritual beings from this vibration to that vibration way up there, they all can communicate with things that are earthbound, like earth beings. So it just really comes down to the level of awareness that the user of said tool actually has. So when you look at spiritual tools, there are, the tools that have been provided in maybe like religion, like the Bible, the crucifix, the cup that holds the wine, the plate that holds the bread or the body and blood, whichever religion it is, the Quran, whichever religion it is that we're talking about, we're going to call these like God tools, right? For the sake of this conversation. And then you've got the Ouija board, the tarot cards, the pendulums, the crystals, the channeling, the free writing. These are devil tools for the sake of this conversation, based on what these TikTokers are talking about, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that I find extremely fascinating, and this is the part that like just gets me so worked up, is that here we've got someone standing on their soapbox saying that tarot cards and free writing and channeling is devil's work. And here you have the Bible, the gospel of God. How the fuck did that get written? Somebody channeled it. That's how, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those.
to like add
Yeah.
to this conversation, I watched another video because obviously now it's in my algorithm, so it's coming up. But she was talking about how all of these things were bad, devil work, all of this stuff. And I think that there is another point that we'll come back to later about portals. But I thought it was interesting because halfway through the video, she was like, I was on a walk and I asked God. And then God said to me, well, who do you know who you're talking to? And then she's like, and then I got it confirmed by my friend who has prophetic visions. Huh? Like, where you
Right.
you just started this 2-minute video with automatic writing is the devil's work, and it's bad, and channeling is bad, and crystals are bad, and she went on and on and on about all of these things, but then
Right.
talked about that. So very interesting. Sorry to cut you off, Heather.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, and that is that is the part that is so frustrating about these, people that are standing up here saying, oh, this stuff is bad, it's bad, it's bad. Is it bad? And who are you to say that it's bad? Like, one of the things that I feel like came into my awareness as I was going through my own spiritual awakening is the duality, right? The duality that exists on the earth. And, you've got good and you've got bad things. And so if you have these good and bad things, you have light and dark, and you have the devil and God, and, like you have these, extreme opposites. When you look at it, if we all can agree that there is one infinite creator of the universe, of all the beings in it, of all of the spirit beings, of all the stars, the planets, the humans, the plants, the bugs, the all of the shit that makes up existence, if we all agree that there is one infinite creator, then who the fuck is the devil? Excuse my language. I'm sorry if there's kids listening, but like, who is the devil? Wouldn't it be then that one infinite creator has also created either an entity that is the devil that would be inferior to one infinite creator, or one infinite creator is in fact also the devil, right?
Oh, I think you're gonna ruffle some feathers with that one.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. And I welcome the conversation because, these are the things that my mind thinks about usually at night when I'm not sleeping, but it's kind of like, when you're looking at all of these different tools, spiritual tools, whether they be religious tools or they be woo tools, everybody wants to throw said tools as the cause of the problem, right? I mean, I've even gotten on here at times and said, about how like kind of broken organized religion is. I feel like there's a lot that's left out of the Bible, and it's really such a bummer. It's a major drag because I think that it would make people feel more connected to God, where I feel like some of these, Bible verses keep people very separate from God. What was the one that we looked up? Jeremiah 17:9, I think
think
it
so.
was.
Yeah.
It talks about the heart, right? And the heart being the biggest liar, that you can't trust your heart, that it lies to you, and that God is always scanning your heart to see if you are a deceptive bad person. And if you are, you will be like damned. That goes into the conversation about God the Father, right? If God is the father of Jesus Christ, which I think a lot of religions compress the two into being like one being, right? But, if we assume that there's God and then there's the Son of God that's called Jesus, right? If we say that and the heart is a liar, everything that Jesus did on the earth plane came from the heart space. He came to teach people compassion, right?
Heart.
Exactly. And so if that's the case, and God's scanning this and is like, if you have any illness in your heart, you're going to be damned. Well, that would create a fear of God, right? God would be a bully, really. Like, if you're not absolutely a perfect human, even though we're going to give you all this duality to allow you to be imperfect, but if you are in fact imperfect, you're going to be damned, and that's just going to be you, and you should fear me. Like, what?
Also, what if there is one creator and they created everything? Why would they create this rule that you cannot have anything bad enter your heart, but then plunk the person into a place where duality exists? They create the one infinite creator created all, which means it created duality. He created duality. She, whatever, it doesn't matter. They created duality. So they created this dark and this light, the good, the bad, the positive, the negative, all of those things. So if you know, whatever negative is moving through your heart, they created that. Like, it doesn't add up in my books. Why?
Right.
You know.
Well, and I think this is the discernment, right? Is like, we're having this conversation today because we're trying to discern what is truth and what isn't truth. And maybe we will never get to what that is. Or maybe we will, you know? For me, it seems ridiculous that, and I'm going to call God, source, one infinite creator. I'm talking about the same thing. Okay. So for any of you who are unclear about what I'm talking about, when I say the word God, creator, one infinite creator, source, the universe, I am talking about that light energy that has created all things. Okay. The devil is a word that we're using right now for context. So I feel like if God created all of this, right? If source created everything and created duality and then brought in tools that this person on TikTok says are controlled by the devil, why would God do that? That would just create confusion, right? Like, why would God do that? It just doesn't make sense to me that also that God would bring his only son based on religious text, right? God had his only son born to a virgin come to this world to be crucified, to teach compassion, which is horrible, right? Like, what a freaking horrible thing to do. And, you know, maybe God is a bully, but I don't understand how in those books it's written that he like did these things, right? Like, he basically sacrificed his only son for humanity, you know? But did he? Or did Jesus, the soul of Jesus, which is a fragment of the light of God, said, hey, I want to go to the earth plane and teach people humanity. I am willing to go through whatever it takes for them to learn. Throw the book at me. I can handle it. And that's exactly what happened. And when Jesus died in the way that he did, and he ascended back to, you know, the heavenly plane, God said, you kicked ass. You are an ascended master. You can ascend to be a higher being. Is that a possibility?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of things that pop into my mind too. As you were speaking, my guides were talking about in the very beginning when we were talking about tools. They were bringing forward that everything has energy, so including physical things. So like physical tools, they were showing me like a wrench and a saw and a, whatever. All of those things have a frequency, have energy, and have a soul, so to speak. We've channeled on this before. What has souls? We've talked, I think last week we were talking about how businesses have souls, and all sorts of different things have vibration. And what they had said to me at that time was any energy, any vibration can be manipulated or changed, influenced. And the example that they gave me was if you were sitting in a room and somebody like really angry and like pissed off at the world comes in, let's say you're at Starbucks, that's the vision they're giving me, and they come in and they're like, "Rah!" And they like walk past you, you feel that. You're influenced, whether you're conscious of it or not. And the opposite is true. Somebody comes in and they're happy and they're bubbly and they smile at you and they say, "Hello, I hope you're having a wonderful day." And it just warms your heart. You're being influenced. And that brings me to the second thing they were talking about, which is oneness. It is all one. We are all one. We're all fractals of one, having all of these different experiences, which means that the duality, and this is something that came to me a number of years ago that I've been working on putting into words, that within the light there is dark and within the dark there is light. And if you look at a light spectrum, all is one and one is all. So we can't have one, meaning the good, without the other, the perceivably bad. They're all one. They're all fractals of one another. We're all fractals of one another.
Yeah, and I think that, when this stuff is coming up, in your social channel, they're talking about how like these tools can be manipulated by low vibrational energy, right? And I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. It can be influenced by low vibrational energy. So one of the things that drives me bananas are pendulums. Like pendulums just drive me crazy. They drive me crazy because they're so incredibly easy to manipulate that, you do not know who's on the other side. You can ask for someone, on the other side, like to come through, right? But how do you know? Like, how do you know that's who you're talking to? And this is something that I spend a lot of time working with my students on, is like validating and confirming who it is that they're actually talking to. And it's not, and this is across the board. It's not just pendulums. It's not just Ouija boards. Like Ouija boards are just not a thing for me. Like that just throw that shit in the garbage. But but like when it comes to like channeling and free writing and stuff like that, there are ways to validate who you're actually talking to. And you can't just kind of willy-nilly it. Like you can't just be like, "Oh, I called in Archangel Michael, so therefore, Archangel Michael must be here because my pendulum is swinging." What? No. Like, how do you know? How did you validate? How did you verify that that's who you're actually communicating with? So while they're, like this TikToker is like, all these things are bad and, free writing is bad and channeling is bad and whatever, I think it's hilarious that they said, and, I communicated with my friend who's also, intuitive or whatever the term was that a prophet.
Prophetic visions.
Right. Prophetic vision. So how does she know where that person is getting their information? it just comes back to discernment, like, I mean, this is like, we literally scream this from the rooftops, I swear to God, like every episode. And it's really important because, now more than ever, we are really having this, like, collision of the duality, and we're in this, like, I think you called it like a disclosure time frame, right? Everything is coming out right now. So, all you have to do is open your eyes and see what is actually happening. I'm asking if there's anything they want to add to that because I'm very wordy. Nothing to add.
Well, and I want to really, underline some of the things that you were saying. Like in my mind, there's a lot of people who don't verify who they're talking to, don't even know how to do that. It's not a part of their practice. They will just, think they're talking to whomever and then move forward. And so I think that there is an opportunity for, you to be having a conversation with somebody you don't think is who you think they are, or maybe it's polarity or whatever. And it's interesting because you said this, I think last week, that maybe the polarity isn't necessarily bad in the way that we think about it, because perhaps that person came to this earth plane at this time to work with the polarity, to do something like that. Like I have past lives where I did several of them in a row because I thought I was doing the right thing. I don't know why, but I thought I was doing the right thing and I wanted to come back and keep doing it. And it required the assistance of polarity. And eventually, like, I realized it wasn't the path where, I was off course with my overarching purpose of life. So I think it's interesting how we just put things into buckets, bad and good. But I think it's so important that we're discerning at this time. Who are you talking to? What are you talking about? Are you allowing for yourself to be led blindly or manipulated?
Well, and I think one of the things, like, as you were talking, one of the things that kind of they reminded me of that people don't pay attention to is the changes in the environment. So, some people will have like a creation room that they go to when they're going to, work in their spiritual field, or they will, have guides that they communicate with when they're working, doing their spiritual work. And so they'll find that there's a new guide or there's a different guide or something's changed with their guides, or they walked into their creation room and the lights were turned off, or the rug was missing, or they had a new window. These are all indications that something is amiss. If it is not the same as what you created or what was like presented to you when you had that like extreme clarity, that is the first indication that something is amiss and that you employ somebody to help you. Say, get your buddy who's also a spiritual healer or light worker or whatever, and be like, hey, can you take a journey with me? Like, can you join me in a meditation and tell me what you see? And get a second opinion about it. I've had countless channels over the last several years that have reached out to me, and they're like, it's just really hard for me to connect. Okay, well, let's look at that. Like, if you were able to connect and drop in and get your information very quickly and easily, and now all of a sudden it feels like you're having to reach for the information and you're not physically ill, then there's something There's mischief there. Like, let's figure that out. So, do I think that like the Bible is bad? No. Do I think that the spiritual tools are bad? No. Do I think that the dark is bad? No, I don't. It's all here to serve a purpose, and one of the main things that one of the gifts that we're given coming to the earth plane is free will. That's a birthright, right? Our soul incarnated for that very thing. Above and beyond anything else, that's why we came here, right? Was to have free will, to be able to make our own decisions. And all of those tools or distractions or diversions are all pieces of the freedom pie that we're served when we get here.
Absolutely. And isn't everything an opportunity to continue to like learn about ourselves and learn about the world that is around us and the perceptions that we hold that create it?
Yeah. Good points.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we can keep going with this. I mean, we still haven't talked about portals. And we can talk about some stories that we've had about things changing in our creation rooms or things like that to give our audience like tools on, what to look for, what to be curious about. If you want to, Heather, what do you think? Part 2?
Yeah, part 2.
All right.
Coming up next week.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you later.